My name is Stephanie Steinberg. I am the founder of the Detroit Writing Room, the New York Writing Room, and our nonprofit arm Coaching Detroit Forward. It is a pleasure to meet many new faces tonight and some familiar folks as well. Beth is one of our amazing writing room members, and so we are very excited to support her with this book launch tonight for Never Getting Ahead. She is the sassy and sensational Beth Gelman, a #1 Amazon bestselling author who loves to pull your heartstrings and get you riled up with her books. Never Getting Ahead is the second book in her Dazed and Confused Steamy romance series, highlighting neurodivergent brains in hilarious settings. The book won first place at the 2025 BookFest Awards this spring, so congrats, Beth.
Oh,
And her book, Eight Crazy One Night Stands, also made her a #1 Amazon bestselling author. She brings the steam in her contemporary romances about women who speak up, take what's theirs, and embrace their wild side. So we are very excited to talk with her tonight. But with that, I am going to turn this over to the guest of honor tonight, Beth Gelman. Congratulations, Beth.
oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Stephanie. If any of you have experienced the Detroit Writing Room, you'll know that Stephanie is very, very excited about getting adult authors as well as her nonprofit where she supports young authors and photographers and growing their talents and their desire. And she's a wonderful resource. And I hope you'll reach out to her at some point and see if maybe you can find a way to work with her.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So hey, thank you all for coming. I love all my little people here. This is so fantastic. Um, I Most of you know me in some capacity. For those of you who don't, I have a background in music. I have a degree in marketing. I have a degree in management. So I pretty much have been a girl of all trades. I even have an email called Go To Girl Assistant because I've done so many different things. A lot of people ask me though, how I got into writing. Was it a passion of mine from being a young child? And the answer is no. I remember being in a creative writing class in high school. Jan Mecula, who is still a friend of mine, was my teacher then, and she helped me to be able to take a whole bunch of words, like way too many words, and use our vocabulary words to scrunch it down into 250 words. And we were able to submit our articles to the Detroit Free Press contest or this and that and what have you. I don't even recall if I won anything, but I didn't care because I was literally pulling my hair out trying to figure out how to make a complete sentence only using vocabulary words and none of those little and but and thus. It was painful. But when the pandemic swung around, like many of you, you picked up a trade, a vocation, anything, and there were so many thoughts swirling around in my head. And my whole life, if you know me, you know I've done everything. People get annoyed at the fact, well, what haven't you done? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't dove off a cliff or bungee jumped, and I never plan on doing that. But um, I needed a way to focus my creativity. I wasn't having piano students anymore at my door. And so that's where I kind of found my voice in writing. And I think it was March 8th, 2020, I sat down and at my desk, and all of a sudden, like it's 4 o'clock, and I've written like 8 chapters, and I'm like, what happened? Everybody, look, see what I did. And I'm like, hey, I might be able to actually do this. So I found my village with all of you. So would you like me to read just a little bit, kind of give you a taste of what's going on? Okay. So this is in chapter 24. I know it's like way in there, but Seneca is speaking. By early evening, two more couples checked in, a young couple on their honeymoon working their way through the East Coast and another older couple from Michigan. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't have time to check it. Normally, I'd jump right on it, but I had to fight off the urge and focus on our guests. Abigail's custom was to offer a light snack of pastries and assorted beverages when guests arrived in the afternoon. I happily took over so she could attend to preparing dinner. Guests were offered a special incentive for booking early, a happy hour of beer, wine, and appetizers before the sumptuous dinner included with their room fee. Overhearing conversations around the room reminded me that we all have our baggage, talents, preferences, and we should not judge others so quickly. You know, little life lessons along the way, presented in a way that, um, you just kind of slip them in like you try with your kids 1,000 times and they're still not picking up what you're putting down. In chapter 26, Seneca says, "The king of saboteurs has struck again." We're talking about Alex. Determined to make his life a living hell, Alex has deliberately manufactured obstacles to his detriment. If he thinks provoking me will drive me off, he'd better think again. When I say I'm all in, damn it, I'm all in. "What crawled up your butt?" Elias teased. After sketching out my exact plans for my project, I wandered into Elias's workspace in the barn. He was restoring a faded 1954 dark blue Corvette. Not a car person, but even I could see this beauty coming to life. Elias was an artist as well as a gifted mechanic. I rolled my eyes dramatically. The usual, your dumbass friend. I dragged my feet, circling the car. He harumphed, wiping a silver thing with a red cloth. "I think you need to lower your expectations or cut him some slack. As much of a jerk as he can be, he'd give you the world if you gave him the time of day." "Cut him slack? I don't think you understand, Elias. He's the one who needs to give me a break. He's already got me packed up and out the door before I've even had a chance to figure this all out." I felt a headache coming on from defending myself. My expectations were simple. I had none. Only that he treated me with respect and be honest with me. And orgasms. Yes, those too. So there's a lot. Meeting the people who either are reading or not reading is a huge part of being a romance author. And here's why. The academia looks at romance like we're trash. They don't recognize it as being, and maybe that's too harsh, but they don't see it as, um, you know, fundamentally important literature. They look at it as just smut. And so they'll say, "Oh, you're a smut writer." And I'm like, well, in my books, that's about this much of this much. And so I don't, I try not to take offense to it because, it's kind of like a slang word. But if you've read any romance in any category, whether it's romantic suspense or romantic, small town, or, they look across the room and she gets pregnant just from looking at her, that kind of stuff, whatever it is and whatever level it is. I know that there are people who just write the story to talk just about the relationship, and the circumstances are of a lesser weight. But unfortunately, mine's the other way. There's a story there that the characters bring to life, and without those characters and the world that they live in, the story doesn't hold water. You find that there's a good story there, and so that's worth the read alone. So spread the word.